So if I were to stay here in this marriage, you would lose both parents because your father would eventually kill me and they will put him in jail and you all would have nobody. So I need to do this and I need to do this now. And that's the day that I left.
Hi everyone, I'm Aruna. I hope that this platform inspires you to explore and expand parts of yourself so that you can really tap into your highest potential. Here we dive deep into the stories of our guests to inspire and uplift through simple conversation. If you're interested in living more mindfully and more consciously, then be sure to check it out. Welcome to episode 3 of Soul Beauty. Today our guest is Sarah Winters. She's the author of the book Why I Stayed in an Abusive Marriage, and she's here to share her story with us. Let's welcome Sarah Winters. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being so brave to be able to share your story. Not a lot of women can do that. I think being a victim of domestic abuse is something that a lot of people are ashamed of. So to be able to share your story, write a book, it takes a lot of strength and a lot of bravery.
Yeah, having no shame. Yeah.
And yeah, putting aside that shame. Yeah. So I wanted to just tell you, thank you so much for writing this book, because you're not only sharing your story, but you're also creating a space of comfort for other women who may have gone through this to connect with and relate to, and even find the strength within themselves to leave a situation that they don't feel very happy in. So tell me about the book and writing the entire process of writing. What has it been like in your healing? How was it going back to those memories, which I assume you may have put on the back burner and really didn't want to deal with, and having to go through and remember all of these instances? What was the writing process like for you in authoring this book?
Well, thanks for having me, one. And the writing process actually began with me writing out my dreams. I am a person who usually dream a whole lot, and I would reflect on what happened the day before and the day after, and I would always have a little note about what is the true meaning of my dreams. But the writing, I decided to write little scenarios of what happened with me, and that coincided with the dreams also. And I used to always take responsibility for myself and what had happened because of those dreams. And I kept notes. I kept notes of little inspiring things that I keep thinking about, and that caused me to actually start off with the book, made it easier for me to write because of those notes.
When was an actual decision made to say, listen, I want to share my story, I'm going to document it, and I'm going to publish a book one day? Was there like an aha moment, or was there an actual moment, like a triggering moment where you said, this is what I'm going to do?
Yes.
When was that?
In 2011, I took a second job in managing a home for battered women. And I was actually a client in that home at one point. And when I visited the manager, she was asking me if I want to manage this home. So while doing that, I decided I needed to write something so that the world will know, not only just the individuals that I'm dealing with, exactly what goes on in a victim's mind while they're in an abusive marriage. And the best thing to do is to actually let them know what went on in my mind and how I actually came out of it. And now I'm managing a home for battered women. So that was the aha moment that caused me to say, you know what, I need to start writing, But then again, when I started to write that book in 2011, I realized I wasn't ready to do that because I needed to understand what it is was really going on in my life. How should I put this across that people would understand that there's not just an abuse going on, there's solutions to every problem. And I needed to work on myself. And I just didn't just come out of a marriage and say, hey, I'm going to write a book. I needed to develop my self-esteem and understand myself before I could put that outside there for everyone to read.
And now we take a pause to thank our wardrobe sponsor, J&K Signature Styles, outfitting the Caribbean professional. Did you hear that? I think that's the sound of some sweet beets and healthy juices. Giving gratitude for our sponsor, the Sweet Beet Juice Company.
How long after the marriage ended did you start properly writing?
Well, the marriage ended the divorce ended at the year 2007, but the marriage ended in 2004. That's when I finally left.
Right.
So I would say back to the same question as in 2011, I decided to actually write that.
And how long in total were you married for?
The marriage life would be 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
And out of that marriage, you have 3 children.
Yes.
And what are the ages of your children?
Presently, one is 35, the other one is 30, and the last one is 27.
How old were your children when you left?
My eldest was 19.
At the time?
Yeah, right.
And when you left your children in the home where your abusive husband lived?
Yes, I actually thought to myself, now I needed to ask my eldest child her permission, but before that I had to let her understand why I need to leave them.
Did she understand?
Well, at that time, yes, she understood, and the other 2 was pretty young, and I couldn't look at them.
Yeah, that must have been hard.
So,
That's okay.
So, I'm not supposed to be like this, but I'm just thinking about their emotional state. That's why I'm probably like this. Yeah. So I couldn't look at them, but I also knew that they couldn't understand at that time. So I don't know what their thought process were. So at this point in time, I was thinking about them. And if I were to stay, that's what I was explaining to my big daughter. If I were to stay here in this marriage, you would lose both parents because your father would eventually kill me and they will put him in jail and you all would have nobody. So I need to do this and I needed to do this now. And that's the day that I left. The day that I left, that's the day I told her.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were talking a little bit before, and it wasn't like every single day was hell,
No.
right? So on average, let's say over the years, what was the frequency of abuse like per month? Would it be like a couple times a month, once a month, twice, 3 times, or once a week?
Okay, at the beginning was very rare, maybe once every couple months, and it wasn't that severe. I mean, it would be severe when you actually hit someone. It is a terrible thing to do, and as I mentioned in the book, if I had known that was a terrible thing and we should not have stayed. No one should stay once somebody actually punches you. That's the final thing. When you get that punch, you just get out. No matter how much in love or however you feel, if you can't solve that problem away from each other, it'll be a very tough thing to solve that problem being together. The abuse, according to your question, the average time after I had all the kids was about once a month, and then it started to escalate twice a month, and when you think everything's going to get better, it just got worse. The understanding wasn't there at all. Yeah.
Now, you also lived with your in-laws.
Yeah.
So not only were the children in the household, but your in-laws were also in the household while this abuse was happening. So they were everybody in the household was aware,
Yeah.
right? So in terms of the role that the in-laws played in turning a blind eye to what was happening, if you were to see them now, what would you say to them?
I would tell them, I understand, because I'm at a different state of thinking right now. I understand why you didn't do anything. It's your son, and there's a certain kind of love that parents in different background would feel for their own, and there's a certain kind of blame they would put on me as an outsider. And I don't speak for everyone, but I'm speaking for myself and my scenario at that time. I think the lack of, I shouldn't say the word intelligence, but
knowing any better.
Yeah, something a little more simple like that. I forgive them.
Is that ignorance?
Is in many cases it would be ignorance. Ignorance in this meaning might be something bad, but ignorance meaning they don't know.
Yeah.
They only act according to what they know, and they believe that what they were doing at that time was right by not involving themselves in it.
Right.
Because one of the reasons his mom said was that they would make up and hug up in the night. There's nothing. Don't interfere with them. They would just hug up in the night when that time comes.
Don't get involved.
And the sad thing is about they actually never did put him to sit down and say, this is wrong. They just left it like that. And this is where parents are supposed to be getting involved.
Yeah.
You don't just leave. You hear a little fight, you never leave that undone. You always try to fix it. Everything that starts and is not right, you fix it. Don't let it escalate.
But they allowed it.
And it was allowed.
And they turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
But let's say, so most of the abuse that would have happened took place in your bedroom.
Yes.
Right? Well, I read the book. I read until around chapter 19. So I didn't get to the end yet. So from my understanding, because they were in the house and any abuse that was happening was mostly in the bedroom, were there times when they were literally in the presence of you, like in a public area, a communal area, like the living room or the garage, or where these instances were happening and they literally saw it with their own eyes? Because if it were happening in the bedroom, the doors were closed and they would probably just hear your screams.
Okay. We were living in the same house, but there were separate levels. So when we were upstairs, they were downstairs.
Okay, so they weren't like outside the bedroom hearing.
No, they were hearing it. Even the neighbors could hear it.
Right.
Yeah. And they didn't come to my rescue. Nothing. They didn't come to my rescue. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where in the book you would read that I was wondering why they didn't, and then I gave reasons to. Maybe they thought I deserved it.
Yeah.
And in that culture, as I say, they weren't that intelligent to know that, okay, this is something wrong. That is their culture. That's how it works. And I believe
they may have been exposed to their different forms of abuse.
Yeah.
Verbal, physical, emotional, mental, in their own way, and probably just thought that was normal.
Actually, it was a neighborhood like that. Everybody verbally abused someone,
This is in South Trinidad.
I couldn't understand. Yeah, and I couldn't understand that kind of life. I was scared. If I hear one neighbor cursing the other neighbor, I would run and hide. So we didn't grow up like that. Yeah.
I'm almost feeling like I'm in a different time zone here in this story, because I mean, I've been blessed to grow up in a way where I haven't and I'm grateful for it. I haven't
Yeah.
been a victim of any sort of physical or domestic abuse.
Yeah.
I did get a few clouts when I was growing up from my
But-
dad for a little, when I didn't do well in exams or something. But I mean, other than a little lash here and there, you know, I've been blessed in that regard. So I really can't imagine. And then too, I mean, I consider myself relatively strong,
Yeah.
you know, emotionally and mentally. So I can't see myself allowing physical abuse. But oddly enough, I have been in a relationship in the past where, now that I reflect back on it, I've been emotionally and mentally abused and even manipulated. And I believe that anybody could easily fall victim to it. I think because yours was just a little more outright, there might be someone who says, how you stay in that for so long? Why you stay in that for so long? Why you didn't just call the police and get out it? Why you didn't, like, what do you say to people who aren't able to understand why it took you so long to come out of it?
All right. So we have different variations of events that happen, and not all are the same. So where tonight he would abuse me and he would apologize just before we go to sleep or not, but he would wake up in the next morning and apologize, and I would change my mind. Okay, it's okay. I could fix this. Every time I thought I could have fixed a situation, I tried. I know he didn't like it that way. I would do it that way. And nothing pleased him, nothing, absolutely nothing, until I had to give up. But your question is, what would I say to someone who is in an abusive relationship?
Who says that you look for that, for staying in it for so long? Or like, for somebody else, I'm telling you, for somebody else on the outside, it may look like it's easy to get out of this. And I want to share with the audience, no, it's not that easy to get out of something that you are literally trapped in. You're being threatened, your calls are being monitored, your actions are being monitored. Like, you know, you're being...
I was being monitored.
Monitored and manipulated.
Yeah, I was being so monitored that I believe he was always around me. So it was like...
And correct me
yeah.
if I'm wrong, but did he like change the narrative of monitoring you as, instead of keeping tabs on you, it was more because I care about you?
Of course, yes.
So there was serious manipulation happening.
Yeah.
And
I believed him.
you believed him.
I believed him.
That is the difference.
And I did not stop hoping that it was the truth each time he was telling me the truth this time. But his stories was so, it was like his promises. He was always nice. He was really, really bad. He would beat the hell out of me, and the next day, when he come home from work, he buy something really nice, jewelry, everything, and said, this is for you, and I'm sorry. And everything would be okay, but I didn't believe that part. I was confused. Why are you killing me half dead and then buying these things? And these things didn't matter to me. I couldn't care less about nothing. I just wanted you to be my husband, and I just wanted to be a wife. And I believe most people, they just want your husband to be a certain way of loving you and have that respect for you. And likewise, everything would happen.
Every time he apologized,
Almost every time, especially at the beginning.
you forgave him,
Yeah.
thinking that this was the last time, it will change. And this happened, this cycle continued for how many years?
For 23 years.
23 years.
Before I left. But it isn't a simple answer as simply as that.
I know.
Many times I left, as I said, 7 times before I
Right,
left.
you did try leaving
Yeah.
7 times before you finally left.
Before I finally did not come back, but I did after 2 years.
Really?
In the end, because it was for, this time it was for my reason, my purpose. It was a life and death thing that I couldn't care less anymore, as though I was just brave. I think the bravery was not there in me at that time. I listened to so many solutions that so many people told me. At the first instance, I start from the beginning, my co-worker and boss, she said, listen, a marriage is you're supposed to try in a marriage at least 5 years. So I believed her. I don't know why, but I believed that I should. And then the older folks used to say, it's against God's rule to leave a marriage. You must try and make it work. So I believe that too. And there's so many things that I listened to and I tried. It's not like I just decided to live and I was stupid in the marriage. I was trying what you say. I tried everything that everybody else said and it didn't work. So my way have to be my way in the end. But it didn't end there. In the middle of all that, I decided, you know what? So many people being abused. Let me stay in this marriage and let me see if I can come up with some kind of solution. I don't care if he killed me. I just want to make sure I could change something. But eventually I realized I could not have changed him. And that was the wrong way of me thinking at that time. Only way things could have changed if I changed the way I think.
Yeah.
And when I started to do that, when he used to keep saying, I'm looking at you, I'm watching you, and I used to be scared. I think he probably have cameras we did have cameras all over the house too. I said, in my mind, I said, I'll be watching you this time. And I started to watch every move he made. And I decided I have to do something seriously about it. Of course, yes, when he did come back to terrorize me, I was scared all over again. It didn't stop. It's it's like they just put you back in this cage with this lion. What else can you do but be scared? And but when he's not there, but he's not around, I would take notes and understand I need to do it this way and I need to do it that way. I tried everybody else's way and it didn't work. Yeah, I tried the counseling. We went counseling and it was strange enough that we would be talking. First I'd be in one room by myself with the counselor and they'll take him by himself and then they'll take both of us together.
Same time, right?
And the stories I said to her, he said the same thing but in a different tone of voice. Same sentence, he would probably change one word and put it on the beginning of the sentence, and had a totally different meaning. But I said that, and it's like, and I didn't. Then I started to understand. I started to watch everything. I started to watch every word everybody say. I started to actually see everything in a different level, and I decided, if he can't stop being the way he is, I have to stop being the way I am. And I started to work on myself. But it was not a fast process. It was a very slow process. It took so long for me to reach that stage. It'll take a shorter time to remove myself from that thing. But I didn't stop trying to figure out how things work, how a human mind works, how my mind works. My mind, somebody would come up to this day, somebody would tell me something, I kind of try to read it through and realize afterwards, after the person even said that something was wrong with what that person was saying, and it's not a simple process to actually change yourself from the way you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I could add, without you asking me any other question, on reflection of all of this, I realized that I started this thinking process from a child. And this is the way I became because of that thinking process. What I saw and how I felt at that time. I did see my father hit my mother a few times. I never saw them actually fighting. But I felt my emotional state at that time was so much sadness for my mother that I wondered how was she feeling. And all that wondering time caused me to constantly be sad and question that. And that question, my answers actually lived out. I lived out all my answers, all my questions.
Beautiful, by the way.
I've never heard that before. I've lived my answers.
Yeah, and the thing is, what we do, what was wrong in my questioning is how I did my questioning. So there's a right way and a wrong way of asking a question. Because if you ask the question in a wrong way, you're gonna get wrong answers constantly, and you will live those wrong answers. So when you start asking the right question, you turn that question around. So don't ask yourself, why is this thing happening to me? Ask yourself, what can I do about this situation so it can be better? So when you ask those kind of questions, you're going to get the right kind of answers coming to you.
I actually saw this saying once, why is this happening to me? Mm-hmm. Change that to what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah.
Or what can I do differently?
Right.
You know, and I think that has a lot to do with victim mentality. And when the world comes at us, whether it be whatever hardship it is, because even though your story is, your hardships were based around violence and physical abuse and domestic abuse, my hardships were very different, but it doesn't discount the fact that I've been through hardships and I'm still going to continue going through hardships in life. But what life has taught me is that bad things are going to happen. No matter what, bad things are going to happen. And it's up to us to change the way we see it on the inside, to say, you know what, I'm not a victim.
Yeah.
This is what I attracted.
Yeah.
This is part of my evolution. This is part of my journey to learn and become better, you know. And when that shift happened with me internally, why is this happening to me, as opposed to what is this trying to teach me, I feel as if I am more equipped for any challenge that comes my way. There's a sense of strength that develops when you just shift that narrative, you know, out of victim. Now, yes, you were a victim, but because of being a victim, you were able to come out. And do you think that you're stronger now, having survived and come out of this situation?
That's a very good question. I think I was stronger then.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Because what I went through, I'm looking at that person. This is me now. I think.
You don't know that person, eh?
Yeah, I think
who was she?
Yeah, so I think I was stronger then because I didn't give up. I didn't die. He just banged me up almost every week. I had a pair of fat lips, and I had to smile, and I had to do this thing. Everything that he said I had to do, and I was doing it. I had to be a mad lady to be doing this thing, but I had my good sense on. But I did it just so that it wouldn't escalate, so that the public will see that nothing is going on. I think I was a good actor. I was a stronger person then. Right now, I believe I kind of relaxed in a little more relaxed form now, and a little more pleasing than to myself, because there are some scenarios which was very horrific that I would actually look back and laugh at. And that's amazing that I could just laugh at some crazy things that used to be happening. It wasn't in the book. If you would permit me to give you one incident that's kind of laughable. He had a girlfriend, and we had a restaurant and bar we were renting just for income, because at one point in time he wasn't working. So I went to help him, and I realized I knew he had liked the girl. So he said, we lock up and we would drop her home. So she sat in the front seat and I sat in the back seat. I didn't know. And they knew I was kind of sleepy because I was just tired, and I came from work there and I sat. And probably he thought I was asleep, but I knew I wasn't asleep. I was looking on, and he hugged her up. He started to hug her on the thing, and I get up from the back seat and I started like get crazy, and I started to kick up the two seats, not hurting none of them. And I told him to stop the vehicle right now. And I don't know which part we reached, if we was almost to her house. I came out the back door, I fling the back door open, I take my blouse off, fling it on the ground, and start running up a hill. I end up rolling down a hill, not realizing it wasn't a cow pen I was in, things all over. And he was running behind me and asking me to come out. Those cattle will trample over you. And apparently I was screaming and crying, and he pulled me out and told me to sit in the car, and I am embarrassing her. And while we were driving back home, apparently he fell asleep and he hit another vehicle. And all I can remember is that we were in a police station, and I was really smelly, and police and they were laughing, and I just blurted out the whole story to them. This is what he was doing. And they didn't even bother, and the guy who he hit didn't even bother. I think they laughed at us and we went home. So I think that all of that was painful at one point in time and crazy at the same thing. To me, it was a laughable moment. So,
Love makes you do crazy things, eh?
You said this word love. It's when people ask, do you still love him? And
do you still love him?
There's so many meanings with regard to this love. The love would mean sort of I care. I care that you're another human being, and you should not be doing this to yourself. Should not be happening to you. Whatever it is that happening to you in your life, you need to understand that you making it happen to yourself. You need to understand, you need to shift that way of thinking and decide that I am not going to be living this way. Nobody is supposed to live in a terrible state. The only reason why you live in such a state and you have this crazy relationship going on is because the way you were taught to think is not the right way. You're not supposed to be thinking, I am a victim, I deserve this kind of thing. We're supposed to understand that we are human beings and we deserve all the goodness that there is for us in life. Stop that. Stop the way you're thinking right now and start turning those thoughts around.
Yeah.
We interrupt this program to give thanks to our amazing furniture sponsor, Modern Living by Fence. We are so pleased to announce that this episode is now available on Digicell's apps, Go Loud and Playgo. Download now.
Coming to that place, though, of understanding that, what you just shared with me, do you feel there's a sense of strength in understanding that you could decide what you want, what standards you want for your life? You get to choose.
We can all decide, we can all choose. But society has it that we need to think a certain way, and we need to choose when we say you should choose. When you have all that freedom in your heart and soul to decide that for yourself, but because of certain circumstances that we have surrounding us, we see things that are not really real. We see things that we need to do that to please that sect. We need to please the other one. There are rules.
Expectations and certain things that you think you have to do, certain roles that you think you have to play?
Yes.
Sit
Nobody said that you need to be married. Nobody said that you need to have kids. There's no law that you have to fall in love with somebody. There's no law that you should not be living by yourself. There's so much freedom in what you believe in yourself that you
get to choose.
You get to choose, but why?
It's not as easy.
Yeah.
It's not as easy
Yeah,
because of society's expectations.
Yeah, and that was the main thing about my thinking, is that why is it I have to please everybody else, and why can't I just please me? But in doing that, there's also a process. I've already come this far in this marriage, and for me to stop doing what everybody else expect me to do, I had to break it down in small pieces. I had to do it in another step-by-step process to come to this level. I started to do self-development courses. I started to do psychology. I went into philosophy. I learned I saw this Raja Yoga Center, and I said, wow, let me check out this thing and see what it is. And they were teaching me different things. And then I realized I was following everybody else again. I still wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, what I wanted to do on my own. But I appreciate all the little things that I've learned.
Yeah.
And I sum it up, and I realized that I just need to continue working on me. I'll still listen to everything, because there's something you could pull from each and every one of them.
Yeah. So, Sarah Winters, I want to know, what do you think is going to come from this book, and what you're sharing, by sharing your story through this book? How do you see it changing the world? How do you see it helping other women who have been in similar situations?
By reading the entire book, not part.
Well, I didn't finish yet. I know you're throwing words to me, but I nearly finished.
I got a lot of feedback from people saying I couldn't finish it.
Really?
Why? I'm still alive. It's a good ending to it, and you would understand at the end what it was really, what this whole journey was.
Right.
So continue reading it. It will give you, yes, all scenarios that are similar to many other women's scenarios. And but when you start working on yourself, you realize that I really need to do what she was doing too. We can't just change the other partner's mind. We need to change our own mind, and you will see on your own thinking how it helps you. You need to work on yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So you feel like going through all the stories and what you've shared in this book, it gives you, reader,
a little extra push to really self-reflect, to really work on themselves,
Yes.
and to really and truly decide, what am I worth,
Yes.
and what do I really want? Okay. So would you say then that this book is not just for people who've been through any sort of abuse? This book is for anyone?
Yes, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Because I see in every single thing that we do, relationships that is the most important thing in your job, and anything that you do. In every scenario, it depends solely on relationship, and communication is a book about how you communicate also. Mainly is about getting to understand yourself, and everything will be fine. It should be fine. If it's not fine today, you'll get there.
all right.
Yeah.
So it gives us hope.
Yeah.
It gives us hope.
Actually, it's a book of plenty hopes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm excited. Honestly, what I've read up until chapter 19
Whew, it is intense. It is intense. And I can't believe I'm literally sitting next to somebody who's been through what you've been through.
I'm simple. I always look at myself as a simple person. Maybe that too is a wrong thing to do. Looking at yourself as a simple person, because you want more than that.
Yeah.
The whole world is yours.
I think we're both.
Yeah.
I think we're complex and powerful, and I also think we're simple.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both. And tapping into that is really important. So, I heard that you don't like cockroaches.
I don't even like the word.
You don't even like the word. What is it about roaches? I'm not even going to say the whole thing. What is it about roaches that you don't like? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
I don't know, the look.
The look?
I don't know, it's a mean thing.
Do you know? And I think I hope it might maybe shift the perspective on cockroaches. They're dirty insects, I get that. But there was a time when it's like a cockroach crossed my path in a very interesting moment, a very aligned moment, I would say. So being on a conscious journey myself, sometimes I would just Google certain things like cockroach crossing your path kind of thing, you know. And I saw something about roaches, about them being survivors. Because I always say two things that could survive a meteor attack or a meteor shower, or two things that could survive the end of the world is glitter and cockroaches. And I say glitter because I'm a makeup artist. So sometimes when I put glitter on my clients and stuff, no matter what I do, glitter is everywhere. You know when you go and you wear little bangles from the Indian Expo or something, or like your little Indian outfit or something, and this glitter just gets everywhere. It's kind of like that. But anyway, the point is, there's a survivalness that is, attached to, there's a survival instinct and meaning that is attached to something as icky as a cockroach. But one thing I do believe is that you're a survivor. You know what I mean? And every insect, animal, cute or not, dirty or not, has a part to play in this whole cosmic balance of the universe. And as horrible as your husband may have been, and as hard as a situation that you may have been through, you survived. And you're here to share your story. And I really appreciate that. You know?
I'm still waiting for why the cockroach.
Because I have one here.
No!
I have one here.
No!
And I'm kidding. I don't have a cockroach. I'm kidding, I don't. I just asked Sally, honestly, what was like a random fact about you, because I just wanted to shock you a little bit. And my final question to you to close off today. I know you mentioned to me that your ex-husband is nowhere to be found right now. It was in 2011, you said?
2015.
2015, that he just disappeared.
Yeah.
A missing persons report was filed. Nobody knows if he's still alive or not.
Yeah.
Nobody knows if he's fled the country or not.
Yeah.
There's no trace of him, nothing. I actually got in contact with him. I didn't. But what I wanted to say was, if he were to walk into the door right now, if you were to walk through here right now and stand up right here in front of you, and you had just one thing to say to him, what would you say?
Okay. That I would answer in more than one sentence.
That's fine.
Yeah, because incidentally, I had a dream of last week that he was here and he was crying, and you dream according to your emotional state, and he was saying, I want to marry you all over. But in my mind, in the dream, I didn't want to marry him, but I was sad for him. I was really sad because he was sad. And if I had to say anything to him, is that I just want you to be happy. I am fine. I just want you to know that you could be fine too.
Right.
Yeah, because a lot of abusive male then, the female too, I think they are the ones who need more help than us, you know.
Not you
Yeah.
think, that is a fact.
Yeah.
The ones that do the abusing are in more pain.
Yeah.
You ever heard the saying, hurt people hurt people?
Yeah.
And there's so much truth to that. No person who is truly contented within themselves will go out of their way to hurt someone else.
Yeah.
The most damaged people are the ones that choose to hurt other people. And I agree. I think he was in more pain than he ever inflicted upon you.
Yeah.
And that's a sad place to be. I do, wherever he is, I do hope that, you know, he's better.
Yeah.
I do hope that he's better.
Yeah. Because I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
I'm good.
And you know, to look at you in your eyes and have you say those two words, I'm good. I see truth in it. And you mean it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, a lot of times when somebody asks you, how are you? And you say, I'm good. Sometimes, you know, you're not.
Yeah.
And we tend to lie to ourselves sometimes, but you're good. And I'm happy for you. Yay!
You.
Sarah Winters, thank you so much for being on the show. Her book is out now. We are going to put a link at the bottom of the screen as to where you can purchase the book. Both soft copy and hard copy are available. And any last words?
Thanks for having me, and I wish you all good read, and we shall speak.
Again,
Yeah.
yes, we'll have you. We'll
Yeah.
have you back on the show for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
That's it for this episode of Soul Beauty. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out the next one. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Soul Beauty. Keep up with me, Aruna Maharaj, as we redefine beauty one conversation at a time. We are so pleased to announce that this episode is now available on Digicel's apps, Go Loud and Playgo. Download now.